Today I'd like to talk about Waterloo, but from an Australian perspective. So casting our minds back to 1974, we didn't even have colour TV in Australia then. It actually came in the earlier part of 1975, around March, I think, from memory. And we certainly didn't get the Eurovision Song Contest televised to Australia. And I would have been about 15 when Waterloo was released, the single after the Eurovision Song Contest. And I think it was played on the charts, but I very vaguely it didn't have a lot of impact, I don't think, at that time, which is interesting. It fascinates me how that when they sang Waterloo in the Eurovision Song Contest, they didn't get one vote from the English people who were actually hosting the contest that year in Brighton. But that aside, Waterloo was used as the first track on the Best of ABBA compilation that was later released here in 1976. And back in the time, those early songs particularly, Stig Anderson, their manager, was involved in making contributions to the lyrics and maybe the melodies as well. So you had Bjorn, Benny and Stig Anderson all contributing to the songs back in those early days. So, and that made for a great combination. The song was recorded in English, Swedish, German and French, as far as I know. And basically they used the same backing track, sometimes a little variations, but basically it was essentially the same backing track. And the piece is in a major key, again, a very bright major key like D major is quite a bright, happy key to start off the piece in. And it's in common time, so basically 4 crotchet beats per bar, but Waterloo doesn't actually start on the first beat of the bar, and we call that an anacrusis, when the music doesn't start on that very first beat of the bar. There's like a bit of a tied note there. Tied note means is when you extend the value of a note by joining the notes together, so to speak, with a slur kind of symbol. But basically, it's in D major, and very, very catchy verse, and interesting lyrics. That where they state the history book on the shelf is always repeating itself. How true is that? And it seems that we as human beings don't learn from history either, unfortunately. But yes, basically the driving rhythm, you've got there a dotted quaver and a semi-quaver kind of pattern that's repeated over and over. And most of the ABBA songs always have an instrumental intro, okay? Because like Benny said, the music was really important for them. And more so in the earlier songs too, which is probably why I like them so much, because there's so much going on in the backing tracks. It's a bit risky playing any of the recordings to give you a detailed analysis, because Universal will probably take the videos down, because they don't seem to like anything put on there that's not any copyright material. So basically the first verse it sticks to pretty much D major all the way through, with a very catchy melody line. And then when we go to the lead up to the chorus, it goes into B minor. The bit, the history book on the shelf is always repeating itself, that part there. Okay, so that's a definite B minor. And B minor is what we call the relative minor key of D major. Okay, it's because they both share the same key signature, which is an F sharp and a C sharp. But in the case of B minor, they raise the 7th note of the scale, which is the A. So if you play the B minor scale, it sounds like this. Okay, and then if you play the D major scale, it sounds like this, which is what the verse starts off in. Okay. All right, now, the chorus part where you've got Waterloo, I was defeated, you won the war, that bit there, there's kind of this really interesting counter melody going on behind all that. And it goes something like this. Now, let me start that again. Okay, so that's going on while they're singing the melody above it. So the brain is shifting from that counter melody to the upper melody, the main melody we're listening to. And then sometimes you have a combination of the two and your brain can sort of focus on the two melodies at the same time. But mostly our human auditory capacity will focus on the melody line and hear that underneath. But put the two together, it's quite clever how that bit was done. That to me is actually one of the highlights of Waterloo, that part there. Okay, and also the descending octaves are that sort of bit. That's sort of very, something like you'd hear in a Tchaikovsky piano concerto, maybe number one. And we know that Benny admired Tchaikovsky, so maybe he got a bit of an influence there from them. Okay, so then after the chorus we go back to the first verse again. Hear the verse again, so still in D major. It doesn't hover too much from D major. You've got that driving bass still going on. Okay, and then basically you've got your chorus again and a little bit of a coda at the end. And a coda is like a little bit of finishing off where it kind of fades, you know, knowing my fate is to be with you. Whoa, 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 sort of thing. Okay, but the thing with Waterloo is that it's quite to the point. It's only about 2 minutes 46 seconds long, I think. It's shorter than your average 3-minute pop song, and it's very attention grabbing, and maybe that's why ABBA chose Waterloo over Hasta Mañana as their entry in the Eurovision Song Contest, because probably Hasta Mañana was more in keeping with your traditional Eurovision song ballad kind of songs of that time, of 1974. But I think ABBA really were trying to get noticed, to get attention, and Waterloo I think was a great song to try and grab people's attention because it's so in your face. It's what do you say? It's just a very clever song. And of course, their appearance on stage always comes into the picture as well. And Frida had a great ability to improvise little dance routines, little movements. And I'm sure the part where she sways her skirt was a spur of the moment thing. It wasn't something that was rehearsed. It appears to me it was something that she just thought of at the time. And it kind of it works well with the song. And another funny thing about Waterloo, I remember Bjorn saying that his trousers were so tight he couldn't actually sit down, so he had to keep standing for the actual performance. And then not long after that, I think he went on a bit of a diet to get some weight off. So that was a funny thing that came out of it. But yeah, it's a very catchy song. And another thing about Waterloo, I remember when Agneta introduced the song in the Bandstand TV special that they made when they came to Australia. She said something along the lines of, would you kids in the audience, that is, like to join us here? And there was like this sort of pause, like people didn't know actually what she meant, but she actually meant for them to join, you know, to sing along and clap along. It was quite funny the way it came across, but that's what made ABBA sort of special, I think, you know. But very, very happy memories of Waterloo, and like I said, it's one of their brighter songs. And obviously they must have believed in it to record it in so many different languages too. But anyway, that's probably all I can think of at the moment to say about Waterloo. But I will do a sort of a recap video of a lot of the things, because when you do this, you often think of things later that you should have mentioned. So I've just sort of scratched the surface of Waterloo today, and maybe I'll come back and revisit it. Okay, thank you for listening. Bye-bye.